And now, our feature presentation.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Steve Willis, Steve Detterman, back again. This is WD60, and it's great to be back, man. It really is. And
it is fun.
Yeah, this is the new podcast, and this is going to be right here.
How long have we been talking about this now? I mean, we did, of course, we did the cheap seats for about 5 years?
Yeah, it was about a half a decade with together. On the cheap seats, it ran for about 8. So yeah.
Right, and then we've been apart now. What, for 3 years?
We have, It's been 3 years, and we are ready to get this thing back rolling.
Yep, and we are, and we're both sitting in basically college football meccas. Though this year, no.
Yeah, not for you really so much being down there in Alabama, but up here under the shadow of the Golden Dome. Notre Dame, up here we did pretty good in the bowl season.
And I think that's one game, and what, we're going to get to talking about the big bowl games yesterday, but there was a couple minor ones, and Notre Dame did play well. I mean, I heard some friends of mine, and I heard some talk. Well, look who they're playing, a non-ranked team and everything, and. Well, they don't get to pick who they want to play.
Right, absolutely, and it still ends up being, you have to come to play. Yes, you still have to come to play, and you see that a lot actually in the minor bowl games. You see a lot of coaches coming in. Well, we're going to develop for the future. We're going to develop for next year and stuff like that. And you hear that.
Or you see those teams that were in the hunt to get into the Final Four. Get to this game and they're so disappointed that they aren't in the Final Four that they just lay an egg. They just aren't ready.
Right.
They don't care anymore.
Right. They lose all will to come and play. Not the Irish though. Brian Kelly had that team ready to go, and they did pretty good. What did they win, like 33-6 or something?
33-9, I believe.
Is that what it was? That's what the final score was. It was pretty good. I do want to get to the major bowl games though, the semifinals. Lord, yes. And the reason is all right. So when the bowl games were announced, when the finals were announced, and we knew that Clemson was going to play Ohio State, and we knew that that Oklahoma was going to go up against LSU, everybody said, okay, it looks like it's going to be LSU Clemson for all the marbles. But then at the same time, nobody expected the games to turn out the way they did. In fact, a lot of people, if you would have asked a lot of people, they would have been completely opposite, expecting Clemson to blow out Ohio State and LSU and Oklahoma to keep it close.
Oh, no, Mr. Willis. I thought that, and first off, let me ask you this. For the first time since they've done the Final Four, this was the first year that I got to the Final Four, and I said, those are the 4 teams that should be there. There was no question about a 5th team or a 6th team or a 7th, nothing like that.
Oh, I absolutely agree. This
is the first year that the 4 teams there were the 4 teams that deserved to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. For people like me that really like the idea of expansion and would like a 6-game or an 8-game tournament at the end of the year, this was a bad year to make that argument. It really was, because you got the best 4 teams, that's for sure.
And these 4 teams were head and shoulders over the other ones. So the Oklahoma did not show it yesterday, but these were the 4 best teams. Now, what you were saying earlier as far as with when you look at these games before they began, the Clemson-Ohio State game, I tell you, watching Ohio State a couple different times this year, in some big matchups, this is a good, solid team. They've been tested quite a few times.
It is.
I took a look at Clemson. Who was Clemson really tested by this year?
But and I get your point there. But remember the narrative going into the final college football ranking, the official ranking, the playoff ranking.
Right.
Everybody wanted to be number 1. Everybody wanted. Nobody wanted to be
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
No.
Everybody wanted to be number one. Why? Because they knew they'd have to play Ohio State. They knew that 2 and 3 would be the dogfight. Well, 2 and 3 was not the dogfight. 2 and 3 was an absolute blowout. And it was one of those games where you looked at it and you said, "Are you serious?"
Wait.
Or no, wait. I'm sorry. I had that the other way. 1 and 4. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had that the other way. That was sorry. Not enough coffee yet this morning.
It's been 3 years, right?
Yeah, this is true. But okay, the point is, neither LSU nor boy, I'm drawing a blank now. Neither LSU
Clemson?
nor not Clemson. Neither them or Ohio State or nobody wanted to play Clemson. Nobody wanted to play Clemson. But now, all of a sudden, when you look at Ohio State, everybody wanted, well, Jalen Hurts, he's unpredictable. They're going to be, a tough out. They were not a tough out at all. I don't know if the lights were just too bright. I don't know if it was just too big a stage.
No.
But for whatever reason, and I'm not buying into that. I'm just throwing those out there, hypotheticals.
No.
It just was not a good look last night, and it wasn't a good look for the Big Ten, that's for sure.
No, but here's the thing, Steve. Of those 4 teams, yes, they were the 4 best teams in college football, hands down. But the separation between the top 3 in Oklahoma was so much. I didn't, if there was, to me, they were like, they were the ugly stepsister that you didn't want to bring to the party, but you had to bring someone. And because
it's quite an analogy.
I don't think Oklahoma they didn't have the guns. They don't have the defense. What they play, is a wide open game. And that's what you find when you get out in that, out into the Southwest Conference or out in that area there, is that they just it's a wide open game. You're going to play to score a lot of points, and the problem is that once you start running up against the defense, and you get down to these Final Four, and you take a look at the defenses, LSU has a stout defense. Ohio State has a stout defense. Clemson has a stout defense. Oklahoma does not.
Right.
They cannot run with these other 3 teams.
Right. And
and this is the same thing you found earlier when you had it used to be the Big Ten. The plotting teams would go out. Remember the old Rose Bowl games? They'd go out and they'd play, and whenever they went out there, they were the plotting teams. It was 5 yards and a cloud of dust.
Yeah, and then they turn around and they played defense, and they did a great job. And see, that's why it didn't look like it was going to be a good look for Ohio State. It looked like they weren't going to. But then what did they do? They came to play. And in fact, really, and to focus just on that game for a second, I ask you this: if Shaun Wade does not get ejected for targeting, does this game turn out dynamically different? Because if you look at Clemson's offense before that ejection, now I understand one player shouldn't make that much of a difference, but if you look at Clemson's offense, it was absolutely anemic before Shaun Wade was ejected, and then afterward, all of a sudden they score 200, or they end up putting up 200 some odd yards, and they were just unstoppable. And offensively at that point, and you look at that and wow, where was this? Where was the breakdown all of a sudden?
And yes, one player should make a difference, but the thing is, it was a correct call.
Oh, it wasn't a terrible call. That's for sure.
No, it was the correct call.
But it was definitely a game-changing call.
I think the biggest game changer that I saw in this game was when Dobbins went out. When Dobbins got hurt, Dobbins had 140-some yards rushing in the first half. He gets injured, comes back in the third quarter, gets injured again. You don't see him.
This is true.
When you take that horse out of your stable, what a difference it made. I mean, they were still leading 16-14 when he went out in the third quarter.
Right.
They were still ahead. And the thing is when you take that horse away and you don't have that option, it changes so much on what you can do. And that's where you saw, if you take a look at what Ohio State did all year, Dobbins, yes, 174 yards. That's a great game. what would he have finished with if he had been in there the whole game?
Oh, sure. I mean, Clemson had no answer for him at all.
No,
and so it was, it would have been a marked difference had he been in there through the fourth quarter. However, he was not. Like I said, Shaun Wade wasn't there, and before him, Clemson couldn't move the ball. And and all of a sudden he gets ejected, rightly so. And all of a sudden now they can pick it up on offense.
Yeah, but think about ball control. Just eating up time and eating up chunks of yard, but also what it does to make your offense a little bit more efficient, where they can't, as soon as they start concentrating on the run, now you've got the passing.
Oh, absolutely.
And that, I think that, to me, that was the key thing. And when he went out, that took a big chunk, I thought, out of Ohio State, and it allowed, I think it gave Clemson's defense a little time to go, all right, we don't have to worry about that guy anymore.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there, that's for sure. And then,
were you surprised at how well Clemson basically took Chase Young out of the game as much as they did?
I was not, because, kind of like how Bill Belichick likes to look at it in the NFL, you game plan for some of the strengths, and you take those away. You take the strengths away, you focus on the weaknesses when you attack, and that's pretty much what I saw last night. And that was the way I think just about any good offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator would have coached that game. It was very good. And then if you're Justin Fields, what a time to get your second career interception. God, I'm so sorry.
It's like, okay, hey, thank you.
Yeah. That's the one thing you're not counting on, and because he's thrown one pick his entire career in college.
Right. Yeah,
one pick.
What was he? Was he 40 touchdowns? 40 thrown touchdowns and one pick.
One interception. The guy never. The guy never throws interceptions, and he ends up throwing one. And it looked like when you watch it, it looks like there was a clear miscommunication with the wide receiver. It looked like the receiver wanted to cut that out towards the corner of the end zone. And he ends up throwing it right over the middle into the safety, and that was the ball game right there. So it was unfortunate, but it was.
I think the other thing that I love watching these two games that we saw yesterday is how many first-round draft picks did you see in those games, and how many people that are really going to make a difference at the next level?
Absolutely.
Good Lord.
Who's on the clock first in the NFL draft? Cincinnati? I think we're going to hear
Cincinnati and
I think we're going to hear Roger Goodell say with the first pick, the Cincinnati Bengals take the entire LSU football team. Because really,
the LSU football, I think the whole LSU football team could beat the Bengals.
I don't straight up. I wouldn't lay any points, but straight up, I think so.
I think the top three teams here. I think Clemson, Ohio State, and LSU could beat Cincinnati. It's pretty scary.
And I know that's go ahead.
I just say it's pretty scary when the best team in Ohio is actually a college team.
This is true.
Because I think Ohio State could beat the Browns as well.
And I know that's a hack statement. A lot of people will say that, and of course, we're going to get the argument from the people that are listening.
Well,
this is all these pros versus college. But when you look as impressive as what LSU did yesterday, it was absolutely just unbelievable when you see how dominant they looked. I mean, it was crazy. And just a tip of the cap to the offensive coordinator for LSU. It was, to go out there and do what he did and be able to put together that game and just keep it together, knowing that your daughter-in-law died hours before the game.
Yeah.
That's just
that's
absolute tip of the cap.
Well, and that shows you how well these teams are prepared prior to getting there. Because this is something that they've been working on for a couple weeks now. They knew what they wanted to do. Right. But I tell you, and I want to come back to Ohio State Clemson again a little bit, but let's hit this for a little while. This game against LSU, it was like video game almost at the beginning. I sat there, and I got the game on, and I'm watching it, All of a sudden, there's a little ruckus in the other room. I got the boys are going crazy. I run in there. Hey, settle it down. Come back out, and all of a sudden, I'm going 7-0. Wait, what the hell happened? They just put the ball.
Exactly.
I just saw Oklahoma punt the ball, and all of a sudden I see the replay. I go, geez, okay. So it's 7-0, and then they come down and so forth. They go on. The second touchdown. I think it came after a punt or something again. I went to do something, came back in like 2 minutes, and all of a sudden I'm going, wait a minute. How the hell did they score that time?
Right.
So I got to see the replay again, and I said
it was shot after shot.
At that point, I said at that point, it's like, I don't care what the heck happened. I'm staying right here. Right. If I get to the bathroom, I'm gonna hold it until halftime. I'll hold it to whenever. Right. Because I'm not going. Because I walk away for 2 minutes, and I'm having to catch the replay. But that game was one of the most dominant games I've ever seen, and to have it happen in the Final Four of the college football playoff, are you kidding me?
Right.
They took them apart.
And to cycle back to, like I said, Steve Ensminger, the LSU offensive coordinator, yes. and that performance by that offense, it got me thinking about just one of the things, and I had actually posted this on social media last night. I said I had thought about this during the game. It got me thinking about all the pro players that have done things like this. Then I got to thinking about like Jordan winning the NBA championship on Father's Day after losing his dad in March. Brett Favre throwing for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns after losing his dad. Marty St. Louis scoring the first goal of the Rangers playoff game on Mother's Day after losing his mom like 72 hours before. Right. It was those things, you start thinking about stuff like that, and it's like, when you know that you're locked in and you know that it means something to you, if you can focus like that after such a tragedy, and I'm not downplaying the death of his daughter-in-law by any means, but to be that focused is crazy.
Give a lot of credit to that coaching staff. Yeah, give a lot of credit to that coaching staff, because they and especially the offense. I mean, they did a job to keep those kids focused.
Oh yeah, they were so focused. They were so focused, in fact, that Joe Burrow didn't even know what happened until after the game. He ended up finding out after the game during I think it was during a post-game interview on the field. Actually, found out that had happened. So, yeah, it was a great job by the coaching staff keeping them single-minded. So. Within tragedy, and I just had to mention it, because within tragedy it was huge. But we actually need to move forward now, because we've burned up 20 minutes on this, an hour-long podcast. We've got to go into the NFL Week 17 right now. There's a lot to play for. There's a lot to play for a few teams.
Yes,
now there are a few teams resting starters, but. I mean,
there are, but
for instance,
think yes and no.
Yeah, like for instance, if you're the Tennessee Titans, you have everything in the world to play for right now, because win and you're in.
You have to win.
Yeah,
you have to win and you're in.
And what better team to go up against?
Who are you playing?
But look, what better team to go up against? Because the Texans, who they're playing right now, they don't have to do anything. I mean, it doesn't matter. No. Pretty much win or lose, they're stuck in the spot that they're in. The Texans need the Chiefs to lose for them to do anything as far as their seeding goes. So really, as far as that goes, there's nothing to gain for the Texans right now. They're going to rest guys. They've already said Deshaun Watson's not going to play. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to take limited snaps. They're not going to trot out their best team. So if you're the Titans, this is your shot. And, of course, if you're teams like the Steelers and the Raiders, who are the only other teams that really have any kind of a chance of making the playoffs, you don't want to see this. But it is what it is. This is what you've battled, 16 other weeks for. Right.
But, I mean, and the thing is yes, there's still some intrigue. And, you got Tennessee, Houston. But, if you're Houston, yes, you're sitting there, you're in. But you want to rest your people against a team that wants to get in the playoffs, a team that can be dangerous, a team that, if they win, They have momentum going in, and this may be a team that you are going to face.
Oh, in all likelihood, it ends up being it ends up being a team that you would face. Of course, right. Now if the Titans get in and things stand as they are in the seedings, they would end up playing Kansas City, where the Texans would have Buffalo, and that's a very dangerous team as well, too.
Right, and here's a question for you right now: who wants to play Tennessee right now? The way they're playing,
nobody wants to play Tennessee. Well, I mean, if you look at Kansas City's already lost to them.
Yeah, and the thing is no one. I mean, if you take a look, let's take a look first at some of the things in the AFC teams you do not want to play. I mean, in the playoffs, you do not want to play Baltimore.
Right.
You do not want to play Kansas City.
Right.
And you sure as hell hope that Tennessee doesn't make it because you don't want to play them.
Exactly. And of course, you have the old standby of New England. They're not playing their best offense, but then again, they are at Foxborough. It is January at Foxborough. It's not a great place to play historically. And their defense is still very, very good.
Oh, their defense is number one in the NFL.
Exactly.
And the thing is that also you got to take the factors that it still is Belichick, it still is Brady. As much as you want to say Brady's talents have gone down and so forth, he's not having a great year. But he doesn't have to. This is one of those years he doesn't have to carry them on his back.
This reminds me of the New England Patriots about 7 or 8 years ago, where Tom Brady was not having as Tom Brady a year as what he normally does. And they just ran the ball and played defense all the way to a Super Bowl championship. So, I mean, they can do this. They've done it before, so you can't count them out. Now, on the NFC side, however, we have a big game today between the Seahawks and the 49ers.
Well, there's a couple big games today.
Well,
I mean, you've got that game, and that's probably the biggest game.
Yeah, that has to be nothing short of the biggest game. It really does, because you're talking about the difference between home field advantage throughout the playoffs and the number 5 seed playing next week, and on the road at that. You get no home games whatsoever.
How would you like to be? How would you like to be the Green Bay Packers today? I mean, you're playing Detroit. Detroit's 3-11. They've given up on the season. They don't. They don't have anything there.
Right.
And going to this game, the worst you can end up after this game is a number 2 seed.
Yeah, you're completely in the catbird seat right now. You've gotten absolutely nothing to concern yourself with, except for the fact that if you could hold down that number 1 seed, you would be happy.
Yeah.
But you can't. In all likelihood, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, you just sit back, you rest your guys, and you get ready. Now, the question is, if you are a team like Green Bay, you've got a first-round bye coming. Do you really want to rest your starters?
No, you can't, because if you lose and New Orleans wins, you drop down to the number 3 seed and you're playing next week.
Oh, this is true.
You can't lose. You have to win. And that's why going up against Detroit, I mean, New Orleans goes up against Carolina. Carolina is a better team than Detroit. So I expect a little bit, tougher, road for them. And the way New Orleans has been playing, it's just been surprising. The last couple of weeks, they've gotten behind big early, and then they've been able to come back. And to me, it's like, okay, one of these times that's going to burn you.
Right.
Is that today? And that's where you take a look at them. With them right now, they're looking at a number 3 seed. They have to win and hope Green Bay loses and hope San Francisco loses. San Francisco loses, then they pop into the number 2 seed.
Right. So they do have something to play for. I mean, they
do. They need to maintain that. They need to maintain at least that number 3 seed, and that at least gives them home field advantage.
And then you have the Cowboys and the Eagles in the division that nobody wants to win, but clearly somebody has to.
Isn't that just, it's just idiotic that you've got, and this is the one thing about the playoffs that kills me, but it's the way it is that you've got either Philadelphia or Dallas is going to get in with an 8-8 record. Okay, one of them is going to be 8-8, and they're going to be in.
And they're going to host a playoff game
and they're going to host a playoff game against another team that has at least 10 wins.
Yeah,
is that crazy?
It befuddles you, but at the same time, I understand the argument. Well, you win your division, you should have to. You should have some reward for winning your division.
Actually, they will host a game against a team that has at least 11 wins.
This is true
because if Seattle loses, Seattle will play at Philadelphia or Dallas, whichever one wins, and Seattle has 11 wins right now.
Right, and really, I don't understand how people could even consider Jason Garrett coming back for the Cowboys, whether win or lose. But there's still rumblings that if Garrett wins this, if somehow miraculously the Cowboys win, which is possible, because if you think about who the Eagles are playing,
right,
they're playing a Giants team that has nothing to lose, and they clearly aren't laying down for anybody. And Daniel Jones is surprisingly good, as young as he is, and just being thrown in there, he's surprisingly good. And the Cowboys are playing the Redskins, who really have not put up much of a fight, this year, and even in games that they really wanted to fight. But then again, divisional games, you never know what's going to happen. You always think you got it figured out, and then the Falcons come along and beat San Francisco. So you just never know in divisional games. So that being the case, we don't know how this is going to turn out.
You got Atlanta comes by and beats San Francisco and saves Dan Quinn's job, and you just go, "My God, really? Why?"
Right.
I mean, this is like Cincinnati hanging on to what's his name for forever.
Oh, Marvin Lewis. Right.
Yeah, well, we're just hanging on to Marvin, for 13 years because hey, we don't think we can find anyone better.
His name actually came up this week, Marvin Lewis. His name came up this week as a potential candidate for the Washington Redskins job. I was kind of surprised, but you never know. I mean, I've seen it happen before.
How about Mike Holmgren interviewing for Carolina?
That really surprised me. I figured Holmgren would be completely. I mean, he's been done for years, But then Joe Gibbs came back after like 20 years.
Well,
so you never know.
Holmgren's only been out of it for a year. Of course,
but I mean, as far as coaching goes,
officially out of it.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as coaching,
not Holmgren. It was McCarthy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was McCarthy that interviewed for Carolina, not Holmgren.
Oh, okay.
Holmgren, yeah. But McCarthy interviewed it.
Well, I'm very glad that it was McCarthy and not Holmgren because that means that I would have missed some serious.
No, it was Mike McCarthy that interviewed down in Carolina.
Okay, well then,
and I'm just going.
You never know.
My God, you bring back Marvin Lewis and Mike McCarthy. Are you kidding me? Why?
But when you think about that, think about this. All right, Bill Belichick got run out of town in Cleveland. Completely run out of town. What's he do? He goes from there to New England, and he is a legend.
No, remember he went to the Jets first, and he worked with Parcells for a little while.
Okay, but I mean, as far as head coaching gigs,
his first head coaching gig was at Cleveland. It bombed. He went back and he worked at with the Jets.
Right, and then his next head coaching gig was New England.
Yeah, and when Parcells left and they wanted to promote Belichick and have him take over, but Belichick did the perfect Belichick. He accepted, and then before he signed it, said, sorry, I'm going up to New England.
Right. But then he goes to New England and becomes legendary. Yes. So that second time around, you never know. So I mean, I still contend if Nick Saban were to come back into the NFL, I think things would be a lot different than what it was Miami.
I don't. I think Nick Saban is your perfect college coach. I don't like the guy. I mean, but he's your perfect college coach for what he does.
Well, don't be too surprised if he's standing on the sidelines at AT&T Stadium next year because Jerry Jones has big, deep pockets and he doesn't take no for an answer. Yeah, I'm just saying it's a down year for Alabama. Down year for Alabama. They didn't make the playoffs. Jerry Jones is looking for a head coach. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and let's take a look at why they didn't make the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs because their quarterback got hurt.
I know.
I mean, but plain and simple.
Hey, but I'm just saying. I mean,
yes. Oh no,
the stars seem to be aligning up. That's all I'm saying. But
I just I just think that I think we'll see Nick Saban along the Alabama sidelines for a little while longer.
In all likelihood, we will. But but I'm just saying his name is going to be in the conversation for as long as there's a coaching position open. His name is going to be in the conversation. I will promise you that.
Yeah, but it's the same as every pro game, every pro opening. You always hear that Brian Kelly's name is in there too.
Oh, sure. Sure. There are names that are always and you even hear names of guys that have been gone for like years. I mean, who was it? The coach of the Steelers for so long.
Cowher.
Bill Cowher. You heard his name for like 6-7 years straight,
and you still will.
Yeah, absolutely.
But take a look at Gruden came back.
He did. Like I said earlier, Joe Gibbs came back after how many years? Was it like 20 years off the sidelines? So it does happen. It does happen, but I don't know. We'll see there. There are a few head coach openings that it already sounds like. First of all, we already know Doug Marrone is going to be released after Sunday's game. Doug Marrone is done after week 17. He has an interview, which I would imagine is going to be his exit interview with ownership the following Tuesday. I believe that's when they're going to make the announcement. Doug Marrone, I feel kind of bad for him because, things could have turned out a lot better for him this year, but they didn't. The Jalen Ramsey thing definitely didn't help. But Doug Marrone, the thing that I hated the most to see him go is because every time I watched him in a press conference, all I saw was if Rob Lowe put on about 65 pounds and decided to start coaching football. Seriously, he looks just like him. It's hilarious. But I think his career is not over as a coach. No. He has potential to go somewhere and do something. I just think Jacksonville, there was a lot of bad that happened there, and I think quite a bit of it wasn't his fault.
Well, and he was at Buffalo before going down there, correct?
Yes.
So he's had a couple coaching gigs, and the thing is that those that they usually end up coming back, but it's going to be a couple years. Like McCarthy, yes, I expect McCarthy to reinvent himself and come back again, if not this year.
I can see that.
You're going to see some of these coaches that have that, they will be back.
Now here's.
Now that we've already got an opening in Carolina, how surprised were you that Carolina let Ron Rivera go before the season was over?
That was the biggest shock to me. I think that was, how every year in the NFL coaching circle, this coaching carousel that we have inevitably at the end of every year. We always have that one surprise, the one that takes everybody. I think we've already had it. I don't think there's going to be outside of a winning football team dumping their head coach this year. I don't think there's going to be a bigger surprise than Ron Rivera being let go, because that really took a lot of people aback. They didn't know where this was coming from, and all of a sudden they want to go a different direction. Well, mind you, Carolina has not been great, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Cam Newton has not been reliable. He's been injured, and you've been engineering an offense around him. And clearly this year they could not. And they were competitive in a lot of games this year without, with a backup quarterback. And Christian McCaffrey has a lot to do with that. But still, their defense.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, you talk about a stud.
Oh, and their defense, had a fair amount to do with that too, because they actually played a little over their skis, but they played well this year. So I don't think this was a good year to get rid of Rivera. I just don't.
I don't think so either. I mean, they're not that far off from a Super Bowl appearance.
I would say
like
a good quarterback and one premier wide receiver away from having an offense that can do it. But there's a lot of those teams in the NFL, though. Really, if you look
there are. But here's the thing: you take a look at Rivera's, what he's put up. You take a look at his history of his work. I mean, put that up against Jason Garrett. Put that up against some of these other guys that are still there, and you go, why are they so? Why is Dan Quinn there? Why would Atlanta hang on to this guy year after year after year. I mean, they have just stunk up the joint for the last 4 years. They really have. And
especially with the talent they have on offense to not be able to put it together enough to at least go after the division.
And you take a look at some of these, these coaches, and you go, my God, how do you hang on to them? And then someone like this goes. But let's take a look at a couple other coaches that could possibly go. We know that Kitchens is going to be going to Cleveland.
That was pretty much a given. And Freddie Kitchens is one of those. He's one of those coaches that you look at and you're just like, you kind of look like you're just playing with house money. You look like you're just way over your pay grade doing what you're doing, and it just kind of felt like that. And then he came out with the shirt, and he came out in not being the least bit apologetic for the way things went down against Pittsburgh, and he just kind of, he sounded more like a fan that just happens to be coaching a team. And I of course, I don't like coach speak any more than any other analyst or any other journalist. I don't like coach speak either because you can't get anything out of it. But Freddie Kitchens was like having, it was like having, a comedian or somebody who's simply an entertainer running that team that once you got him behind a microphone, you knew you had him. You had anything you wanted out of him. And it just wasn't a good look for that team because what did it do? It built up in some people's mind, it built up too big expectations for that team, which that team didn't. I mean, believe me, with Baker Mayfield, OBJ, with the way that team was built, they should have done a lot better than what they did.
I agree.
But I think
the undisciplined.
Yes, without the discipline in the locker room, and I think that comes right from Kitchens. I mean, you see the way he's not very disciplined behind the microphone and in interviews. I don't think the locker room was disciplined at all. Now you've got Odell Beckham talking about, come get me to just about every team that's looking at him. You have Baker Mayfield, who doesn't know what kind of facial hair he even wants to wear. I mean, it literally is like this big locker room full of clowns right now. It really is.
The thing that kills me is I keep seeing these commercials with Baker Mayfield out in the stadium and everything. I go, take a look at their record and take a look at what they're doing and take a look at what he's doing. Come on, really? You continue playing these still?
Yeah, I honestly think that he would do a better job pushing a broom than he would throwing the ball down the field some days.
Now, other coaches that we could be seeing, could the NFC North see two new coaches? Would Detroit and Chicago have those two coaches? I mean, they're both they've been there 3 years. But I would
not be so quick to pull the trigger in Chicago. I really wouldn't. I think Mitchell Trubisky took a step back. All right, he took a step back. That's all there is to it. You also got rid of Vic Fangio on defense, so your defense took a step back.
But that offense was horrible, Steve.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
The play calling itself, not just the play calling just stunk.
This is true, but remember also, this is Matt Nagy's second year too. The NFL is caught up to Matt Nagy.
They have.
But you have to look, if you're Chicago, you have to give him a year to turn that around. Now, the hot seat will warm up next year, I think, if he comes out next year and it's the same old, especially with some talent, especially with draft picks, the ability to improve that offense, to get pieces around Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, it did not look good for Trubisky and his legacy this year. However, there are a lot of quarterbacks out there who had a great first year, a down second year, and they come pull it back together, they reinvent themselves. So give them, I give them one more year. I really do. Detroit, however, that was a team that really should have performed a lot better than what they have. They started out this year looking like they were going to live up to
weren't
standard.
Weren't they 3-1 at one time?
They were. That's why I'm saying this year they started out looking like they were going to be the world beaters everybody had them pegged for.
Yeah, I think they were 3-0-1 and they've lost, I believe, 11 straight.
Right, and they completely fell apart. And as they fell apart, all you hear is just nothing out of Detroit. They're not making any moves. They haven't tried to do things differently. They haven't tried to fix anything, and they
have been without Stafford. They have been without Stafford.
This is true, but then at the same time, there are teams that have lost their quarterback and still were in the fight. Pittsburgh, great example. Ben Roethlisberger, gone. What did they do? They play musical quarterbacks between Duck Hodges and the backup, whatever, I can't remember his name now. But anyhow,
I don't know. No one else can either.
Between the two, they still fought every game, and right now they have a shot at
they still have.
Yeah, albeit they need Tennessee to lose.
Shot, but they still have a shot to be in the playoffs. Yes.
Right. They need Tennessee to lose, but they still have a shot to get in the playoffs. So losing your quarterback's not an excuse. I mean, really, as far as that goes.
Does this would you put Mike Tomlin on a hot seat?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If there's a candidate, if there's a candidate for Coach of the Year on a team that did not do well, it would be Mike Tomlin. That is probably the best coaching job I've seen him ever do. He's got no talent. But look, you lost Antonio Brown. But just listen to me for a second.
Okay.
You lost Antonio Brown in the offseason. You lost all of your running game in the offseason.
Yeah, you lost Le'Veon Bell.
And you lost Ben Roethlisberger, a couple of games in. All right? Mm-hmm. You've been dealing with injuries on the offensive line. You've been dealing with injuries out of the running game. You've been dealing with injuries on defense, on your defensive backfield, and you're still in a playoff hunt. They have not had time to fix the losses, and they barely had time to patch the injuries, and somehow they're still – and they didn't play exactly a cake record. Remember, they had to play Baltimore twice. They've had to play Tennessee twice.
They also got to play Cincinnati twice, and they got to play Cleveland twice.
Right. But they had to play Tennessee. They had to play Baltimore twice. They had to play, if I remember right, I think they played New England. They did not have an easy schedule, is what I'm saying. They didn't have a New England Patriots first half of the year schedule where they played nobody.
Oh, no.
They had a tough row to hoe, but they still did it without anybody. So Mike Tomlin is not only safe, but I think he has a dark horse shot at Coach of the Year, in my opinion. For the job that he did. No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I have a question for you. What teams right now, AFC, NFC, what two teams right now, one on either side of the conference, is getting hot at the right time, getting perfect at the right time, and playing the best ball at the right time, going in the playoffs here?
On the AFC, Kansas City, and I would say Baltimore, because Baltimore has not stopped being hot.
Okay, they're both AFC though. You got to give me an NFC.
I think on the NFC, getting hot right now, I'd say Green Bay has improved as far as getting hot, and I would probably say New Orleans.
I would say
they still maintained with their offense. Now, San Francisco has had a tough last 3 weeks.
I would say
3-4 weeks.
Yeah, I would.
Seattle losing their running game and injuries. That's the other area that I look at.
Right.
Out of the NFC, I would say Green Bay and New Orleans.
I would agree with you there. I would say the AFC side, I'm going to agree Kansas City, just because of the fact that since Week 11, the best scoring defense in the NFL, 9.3 points allowed out of the last five games in a row, something like that.
But you got to temper that, because they had a couple games that they weren't playing anybody.
Yeah, but they played 3 divisional games, and I've always contended. And
I'll be honest,
divisional games can't. Yeah, but you can't throw away divisional games and say, well, if you shut them down completely. I mean, that's also a team that has not. That's also a team that has not allowed a touchdown in 8 quarters of football, or 9 quarters of football now. going back to the back of the New England game. So I'm not saying they have the best defense in the NFL. Period.
No,
I'm just saying that to look at what they looked like in week 1, 2, and 3, and how porous their defense was. I think they bought into Steve Spagnuolo's system, and I really think that they're coming together at just the right time.
Oh, and I agree with you. Like I said, I think that they are, in the AFC, they're a team you do not want to face.
Yeah, that's most definitely.
And if Tennessee gets in, that's another team you do not want to face.
Absolutely.
But I think, since Tennessee isn't in there, the other team I would look at is Baltimore. Baltimore have just dominated, I believe, this season.
Baltimore is, you can't take anything away from a team that's won 11 games straight. That's all there is to it. But the one thing, the little hitch in their giddy-up that I do see is I see Lamar Jackson over the last couple of games getting hit and getting hit hard and getting banged up. And I kind of feel like if he takes a couple of really good shots in the playoffs where things just get faster and hits get harder, they're walking a dangerous tightrope, because the guy sitting on the bench behind Lamar Jackson is not another Lamar Jackson. Their offense is going to be completely dynamically different if Lamar Jackson has to go out. So
you hear that?
I feel like they're on a tightrope. I mean, they're trust me. I still think they're the best team in the AFC. I feel like they're on a tightrope.
I think they're the best team in football right now.
I'd say they're a close second to San Francisco, but I still got to see the 49ers. I'm sorry, I still got to see the 49ers get beat before. Again, I should say. Now, if Seattle beats the 49ers this weekend, if Seattle beats the 49ers on Sunday, then I will tip my hat and say Baltimore's best team in the NFL. But
didn't San Francisco just get beat by the Rams a couple weeks ago?
This is true. But then once again, I defer to the divisional matchups. It is very hard.
As Baltimore still has had the divisional matchups as well.
They have, but then the division that they're playing in, Pittsburgh aside, and once again, Pittsburgh playing with house money this year, the division that Baltimore's in, you have Cleveland, Cincinnati. If you go to where San Francisco's at, the Rams were in the Super Bowl last year. Now, they're not the same team, but they have a lot of the same pieces. And once again, a team that plays you twice a year, they know you very well. You know them very well. Sean McVay is no dummy. He knows how to play San Francisco. He knows what to do against Nick Bosa. He knows what to do to stymie Jimmy Garoppolo, if anything, at least for a few drives, just to pull ahead. All right, so it's not as easy to say, well, yeah, but they lost to the Rams. That's true, but then the Rams also see them 2 times a year, so it's different.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went back to the Falcons. I mean, look at I said.
Actually, looking at it, they beat the Rams, but it was 34-31. They lost to the Falcons, and they lost to the Falcons, and they lost to the Ravens already in one head-to-head match already.
This is true. And I still contend that very well could be the Super Bowl matchup. Ravens 49ers, part 2. This time, no Harbaugh brothers. One of them anyway.
I don't have, I would not, put against that. It's going to depend on what San Francisco does today. If they win in the number 1 seed, yes. I think that basically, to me, with how they play and how they play in San Francisco, I can see them as a Super Bowl team. If they drop down to the 5 or 6 seed, no, I've got an issue, because I just don't see them. I don't see them going on the road and playing as well as they do.
You don't think San Francisco, with as good as what they've done on the road all year, they wouldn't be able to win a road game in January?
No, I'm not saying that. But here's the thing. Let's say that they're the number 5 seed. Okay, first off, they got to play at Dallas and Philadelphia. No problem there, right?
Sure.
Okay, they win there. Now they got to go to Green Bay and play at Green Bay. Yes, they beat Green Bay handily.
That is a tall order. It is a tall order to go to Lambeau Field in January.
Now you've got a warm weather team playing cold weather.
Yeah, but that defense travels, as the old adage goes.
But the thing is that the Packers' defense has gotten better since then as well, as we've seen.
This is true. So
I mean, it's and that's, as you take a look at it, I think, for them to get to that point, they have to win today, because I think if it goes to San Francisco, I really don't see a team in the NFC, bar maybe New Orleans. I don't see Green Bay going out to San Francisco and winning.
No,
and I'm a huge Packer fan. I don't see that happening.
No,
I
definitely
see New Orleans
agree.
possibly doing that.
Yeah, I definitely agree that they need to win to have that overall advantage that you're just going to look and say, okay, now San Francisco is definitely coming out of the NFC. But I think it's more important to Seattle to win this game than what it is San Francisco. I really, it's markedly more important to Seattle, and I think it's more important to every other team in the playoffs for San Francisco to not have home field advantage than it is vice versa. I really do. I think it's more important. It makes the NFC side of the playoffs 1,000 times more interesting if it doesn't have to go through the Bay Area. I see that is 100% guaranteed. It's far more interesting.
Right. And here's a question for Marshawn Lynch. Is that a big reach, or is that a good move?
They needed a running back. They were down to like one running back on their roster, so they needed somebody. Right. Now, he has not played a game since week 6 of last year. That is a long time. That is a long damn time to not, especially at the running back position.
Yes.
Especially at a position where you get not just hit, but you get pummeled.
You get hammered.
Now, mind you, not as many people are interested as hitting Marshawn Lynch as they would say, like a smaller running back. But it's still tough physical football that he has not played in a year and a half. It's not that he doesn't know how to play the role, because we've all seen Marshawn Lynch go beast mode, and it's over when he gets in his rhythm. It's over. But
is that something
I kind of feel like,
yeah,
I don't think here's what we're gonna have to see. I need to see him carry the ball and get hit one good time. That's what I need to see. And I may be saying this for nothing, but because he might hit that first hole and take out a safety and go 75 yards for a touchdown. He might.
Right.
I have not seen him do it in so long. I need to see him do it again. I need to see him do it again. Now, as a spiritual leader, as a force on that field emotionally, I think it's the smartest thing Pete Carroll could have done. I really do. Because going into this game, they'd be coming in off of a loss, a big letdown because of injury. You have a crowd that really would kind of feel like they had no chance. So you're going in to this game with some serious doubts in your mind. All of a sudden, you go out and get Marshawn Lynch, even if he stands on the sideline as a cheerleader for the first half of the game. As a crowd, as a 12th man, which is a big advantage up there, you are pumped up. Is. You are so pumped because you know that you have 24 on the sideline getting ready to run downhill at any point. Not to mention the fact that if you're that team, there's only 5 guys on that team that have played with Marshawn Lynch. There's only 5 guys on that team. For as long as what he played in Seattle, only 5 of them. The rest of those guys, he's nothing short of a legend. And in that locker room, so they're gonna play up, much like if you went out golfing with Tiger Woods, your game's gonna be a little better just because you've got him sitting right next to you. Do what?
Can I do that, please?
Yeah. You set it up. You set it up, and you give me a call, and I will fly out there, and we will do it. That's for sure. No, this is the thing that he brings to the table. So whether he runs for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, you have him on your sideline getting everybody else pumped up. And if you give him the ball on 3rd and 1 and he rolls over for a first down, that may be all you need to get the confidence back in that entire team to go out and beat San Francisco and take that division. And now, like I said before, the game entirely changes on the NFC side of the playoffs.
See, and I look at it a little bit differently. I think this is the biggest decoy move that Seattle could do. They're playing at home, so they're going to have the fans. They're going to have the crowd behind them. And the 12th man in Seattle is huge. You know that. I know that. And, no one wants to play up there. But you got to believe that San Francisco's going to say, hey, we want to knock him on his ass right away. We're going to kick him, and we're going to knock him down. We're going to beat him and everything else. How many play action? I mean, Russell Wilson is the king of play action. This is the perfect time to use that decoy. Fake it to him. San Francisco comes up. They want to kill him. Now you got a shot at a nice pass.
You're gonna have You're gonna have to run the ball a couple of times to keep it honest.
You will. But you've got Turbin also. Remember, they signed Turbin back too.
This is true, but nobody's scared of him. Person. Nobody's scared of him versus Marshawn Lynch. I mean, you tell me Turbin Austin, you tell me Marshawn Lynch, I'm going to tell you, okay, well, don't run with Marshawn Lynch because I don't want to hit him.
Well, and the other thing is that you've also got, I want to hit him. I want to hit the old man. I want to knock him on his can and show him why he should have stayed retired.
Maybe.
Oh no, I don't think there's a maybe with that.
I think one time of him running over a linebacker, I think it's going to change their mind on that.
No.
If it happens, now, like I said, I don't know, but if it happens,
remember a couple of years ago down in New Orleans when they had the hit squad or whatever, and when Minnesota came down there, they had the hit squad and everything else. They got in trouble for it.
Yeah,
but you try and tell me that the defenses of today, they do not key on one person like that.
Oh no,
got something coming in.
Yeah, they absolutely
I will tell you right
do.
now, San Francisco's going to come in so keyed up on knocking out Marshawn Lynch. That is going to be their number one thing, and that in the back of their mind, every single one of those guys in the defense, they're saying, "I want first hit on the son of a gun. I want the first hit."
Well, if they
I want the first hit. They're going to argue back and forth, and they're going to want to go up there, and they want to be the one that knocks him out of the game and knocks him on his butt.
Well, if Seattle
does that mouth and sends him back to the sidelines.
Well, if Seattle does anything with Marshawn Lynch, if Seattle does anything at all with him, they're going to be able to slow down Nick Bosa just by keeping that defensive front honest. Because right now, if you're Russell Wilson, you have a backup tackle who's going to have to go one-on-one with Nick Bosa at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have to worry about it. And Bosa he's had 2 sacks in like the last 4 games after coming in to, I think it was like week 12 or week 13 with one of the top sack numbers in the NFL. Now he's had like 2 sacks in 4 games. He's hungry. He wants to eat. And if you're Russell Wilson, you know that. So
right.
if this is anything else, it's an insurance policy to hopefully slow him down a little bit and keep him off of you, so you can at least get the ball out, because that would be scary otherwise. So
right.
Hopefully. Anyhow, we've got to get this wrapped up. We're coming up on our hour. I do have to ask you beforehand. We're getting ready to get into the offseason, obviously, with the NFL stopping. Right. Did you hear about Jameis Winston wants a $30 million extension?
Yeah, So the same Jameis Winston, I think, that's setting the record for most interceptions in a year.
Yeah, apparently wants $1 million for every interception is what he's looking for.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
you know what? Hey, Jameis, go see what you can do somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, he's like I've said on Twitter a few times. He's throwing up turnovers like he's a bakery. I mean, it's bad. It's terrible. And I don't care. Running game, no running game. I don't want to hear it. Phillip Rivers hasn't had a running game all year, and he's 10 interceptions behind. So,
Right.
Jameis Winston is a bad look, Jameis. It's just a bad time for you to go into the boss asking for a raise. Hey, I know I wrecked the company truck a couple of times this year, but you think I can get a couple more bucks in my paycheck? I'm so terrible.
Times. I think quite a few times.
Yeah, he ran the forklift into the wall about 4 or 5 times.
Right. One thing we didn't get to touch on was the new baseball rule. Maybe we can hit that with the next show real quick, because we still have a time before baseball starts, but that's something that would be interesting to go over.
I absolutely
maybe at that
want
time
to do
maybe we'd be able to. maybe if we can try and work out, since we're just beginning, maybe we see if we get David May Jr. on again too.
That would be fantastic. We'll probably have to try and get a hold of him, see what he can do. But yeah, we definitely want to touch on that, and we will do that probably on the next show if we can. But for right now, Steve, it's been great first show back. I'm so happy we're doing this again. And if you guys want to listen to this show again, just go to your IoT device, your Google Home or your Amazon Echo, and just tell them, I do, just Alexa, play WD60. And she will find WD60 for you on iHeartRadio, because that's where we're going to be. So tune into that. As for now, if you want to find us on Facebook, it is The Cheap Seats with Steve and Steve on Facebook. And you can follow me on Twitter at The Willis on Twitter. And I don't know, Steve, if you've got your Twitter going still or not, but if you do.
I'm still the same, SP Detterman at whatever it is.
At SP Detterman on
You'll
Twitter.
Find me, SP Detterman.
Yes, you're still the social media aficionado. I can see that.
Yes. I am, and I have my Steve Detterman Sport. I haven't written on it in a while, but now we're doing this. I think I'm going to get back in the writing bug on that, so I'll post some more articles and some more of my own individual thoughts on that as well.
Sounds good. Well, you can always find us here. Every time a new podcast drops, we will definitely throw it up on social media, and we might even have to investigate some kind of live broadcast, so we'll see what we can do about that. But in the meantime, you guys enjoy your football, enjoy your holidays, and enjoy your weekend. For Steve Detterman, this is Steve Willis signing off.